Zoning Appeals meeting of March 30th, 2023 is now in session. The first order of business is to approve the minutes from the March 10th, 2023 meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any modifications or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And there are 4 of us that can vote, and so we have a quorum. It is passed unanimously. Second order of business is to adopt the resolution from the March 10th meeting. That's V9167 M1, 408 and 414 Lodi Street. And is that the one where they submitted the plan?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have everything we need. That's all I have to say about that, right?
That's right.
Yeah, okay. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. That's unanimous. The board will now conduct the public hearings on today's agenda. The way we work it here is that first the applicant or the applicant's representative will state the reasons for the requested variance and present any material or documentation which is to be considered regarding the proposal. Next, persons wishing to speak in favor of the proposal will be given the opportunity to address the board. Then persons who wish to speak in opposition will be allowed to address the board. Finally, the applicant or a representative will be given the option to make any closing arguments or comments to the board. Following the public hearings this afternoon, the board may make a decision on each application heard. The board may also decide to hold its decision until the next public hearing. If the hearing is closed, no additional information will be allowed into the record except for information that the board may request. That information will be available for public review at the zoning office in City Hall Commons. Staff will now introduce the first application.
The first public hearing is V-13-28M1, a use variance request to waive permitted uses at 1919 South State Street. The proposal is to establish a hot food takeout in existing retail. The owner applicant is Ashkar and Sons Properties, LLC, and the zoning district is residential class AA.
Is the applicant present? Okay, come. An announcement for everybody. When you get up to the microphone, please, the first thing, state your name and address. Anybody that speaks. Sir.
Yes, my name is Ahmed Ashkar. Address 1919 South State Street, Syracuse, New York.
You want to tell us about your case?
Can my son speak for me?
Absolutely, as long as he tells me his name and address.
Sure.
Hi, my name is Mohammed.
You could lift that.
You can lift that, I think.
Hi, my name is Mohammed. Address 1919 South State Street, Syracuse, New York. Where our case is basically that we want to include hot food takeout so that we can apply for we want to apply for a permit for a hood in the retail business. And to do that, we understand that the building and the property is not up to code. And so we want to do our best to make sure that we're up to code, and then that we can apply for the permit and hopefully get the takeout, the hot food. And in our endeavors to try to make sure we fulfill all the requirements of a variance we had in 2013, we find that it's a lot of the requirements are either like unfeasible because of various reasons, or that some of them may be out of date or unnecessary. And even though we do try to do our best to fulfill all the requirements, a lot of times, whether it might be natural weather issues or circumstances in the vicinity around the property, that a lot of times that those things that we try to do, like for example putting bushes or grass or wherever it need be, those things tend to get broken and vandalized, and so because of that it's difficult to maintain those requirements that are needed.
I have a question of staff. How do the unmet issues that they discuss affect our deliberation over the current variance, the application now?
Well, I think you're reviewing what's being proposed and on the site plan. And you're aware of some existing conditions on the site, and you can address that if you feel it needs to be.
In the past, you know, with an application, I generally weigh the severity of the missing pieces. I've told applicants before I won't even send you to the board unless you take care of this, that, or the other thing.
Yeah, kind of, that's why I was asking.
Yeah, you know, in this case, I think because it's a use variance, you know, this is another opportunity to kind of reinforce, you know, what the requirements are. But I think, especially with the use variance, it's kind of giving them their opportunity, you know, to make their case.
Okay.
You know.
So here are some specific ones that were recommended to you. One is a buffer between the sidewalk and the parking area. When I was out there, I noticed you had a raised bed between the sidewalk and the parking area. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
Is that something you added?
Yeah, so we added that recently to as not only a border, but to maintain the bushes that we're told that we need to add. Unfortunately, like I said, there's some circumstances where a truck, within a few days of installing it, a truck broke it, and some of the wood pieces, I don't know if you've seen it recently, are now, you know, broken. We've had to clean it up. Some of the bushes were taken out of their place, most of them actually. And so, you know, it's just, these are the types of things that I was saying, that it's difficult to like abide by all the rules when every time we try to, you know, meet the obligations, they're kind of being vandalized or damaged.
Are you trying to repair it, bring it back to what it had been like?
So this was only I think I mean, I'm not too sure on the dates. I believe it was like not even 2 months ago that we installed it, and then within like a week it was damaged. We do try to clean up and repair it as much as possible, but I was hoping that we could kind of come to like maybe a better solution as opposed to what we had, because I feel like that's not the right solution for the area. I don't think it was fragile, actually. We built it very sturdy. It was a diesel truck actually that ran over it to break it, but it was very sturdy when we built it.
When I was there yesterday, there was a huge truck unloading stuff. I can see how that would be a problem. Also, the grass area on the property within that right-of-way have not been maintained. Are you going to be fixing up the grass?
Yeah, so in the wintertime, it's hard to make sure the grass is planted and things like that, but in the summertime, we have no problem maintaining and replanting grass and things like that, and where there's the right-of-way in between the sidewalk and the road.
And a bike parking area, a bike rack would be required. Can you provide that?
We can easily provide that, yeah. I was never informed about that until very recently, but yeah, if that's something we need to do, that's no problem. We could do that.
How about putting stripes onto the parking area to indicate where the parking spaces are? Is that something you do?
Yeah, we've already done that. Yeah, we've already done that, and we have a handicap spot, we have a fire lane, and like a no parking space, I mean. And we also have a space in front of the propane tanks where you're not allowed to park, that's striped.
It sounds like you're handling most of the things that were required.
Yeah, so to be honest, so this is an issue obviously that we've seen from 2013, so it's like a long-standing issue. I only stepped in just because my father, my older brother here, it seems like they were having trouble over the years to get this permit. They've been trying to for a while. So I just kind of stepped in. I'm the younger brother, just to see if I could help out and you know, fulfill all the requirements as best as we could.
So the question we always get about corner stores is, are you going to sell cigarettes or alcohol?
So we currently do sell cigarettes and alcohol, but everything is legal, up to date. Like nothing is against any type of code or anything, and you know, I can vouch for that, and I mean, I'm a medical student. You know, we I'm about to graduate in 2 months. And so, you know, I really do value, you know, my word is my bond, and you can also double check anything I say. So if
You've been there for a good while.
Yeah, my father, he opened the store about 40 years ago. He recently retired, and now my brother helps maintain manage the business.
Any issues with either neighbors or people, nuisance, you know, people hanging out and stuff like that?
Not at this location. If you go a couple blocks down, it might be a different story. But at this location, you know, the families, I mean, my father knows the grandchildren who have grown up, and so everybody kind of knows our family because we've been there for so long. And so there's no issues with loitering or, you know, things happening outside, especially I think also because it's closer to the highway and there's cameras on the light posts outside the building. That also helps maintain like a healthy environment outside.
You're switching, you're getting rid of your deli. I mean, I read the story from the demand now is for the hotter food.
Yeah, so we have a cold deli, cold food. We make cold subs, and we just want to add hot food also, like to make
So
chicken
you're adding
tenders.
that, you're not getting rid of it, yeah.
Yeah, we just want to add it, and in order to add it, we want to make sure we have a hood, so that we can, you know, for the and you know, just to make sure that everything's proper. You know, we don't want to have fumes going around the store and things like that. So we want to make sure that we have a hood, and in order to get the hood, we need this permit.
Yeah.
And we can't do that without being up to code.
The sandwiches are good. I've had them.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
So one of the things about takeout that we hear from neighbors is, well, that means there's going to be wrappers and packaging that's going to be dropped on the sidewalk.
Yes.
Anything to say about
So
that?
yeah, so we do notice that you know, in our parking lot, there's usually a lot of wrappers and things like that. But we try as much as possible every day to. We even have one of those picker-upper things that we send an employee out every day to clean up and make sure the parking lot is maintained, as well as the sidewalk and like our corner, that whole area.
You're delivering this food too?
We do deliver on Grubhub and some of those other services as well. Yep.
Do you think it would help to have a trash container outside for, I don't know if people put it in.
We do.
You do have already?
Yeah, we have a trash bin, but sometimes it gets full, and so we empty it obviously as much as, you know, every day or every other day. And then, but even sometimes, even when it's not full, you know, people just tend to litter, but we clean up as much as we can.
If this does not pass, would that be a big impact on your business?
Yes. And so, I mean, like I said, we've been applying for this for about 10 years now. We've been trying to get this hot food permit. And I think that, you know, in terms of, you know, the business thriving, it's important that we offer this because, you know, we're not really, right now we're only able to offer the cold food, the cold subs and things like that. By offering hot food, it's like a whole other like type of food, type of service that we can offer.
So what kind of hot food would you have?
Like steak subs, chicken tenders, chicken wings, things like that. Just we want to be able to put a fryer and a grill. So those are the two things that we need the hood to cover.
Okay, because there's, well, I am asking, one of the criteria for use variance is you have to show us some competent financial evidence, you know, what would happen, yes or no, if this would be approved or not approved. So that's why I'm asking.
Okay, financial evidence as in, what do you mean by that? I'm sorry?
Well, the statement is the applicant cannot realize a reasonable return provided that the lack of return is substantial as demonstrated by competent financial evidence. And
But I have to prove that you need this, right?
Yes.
That you need this to make the profit. You know.
Yeah, I think any sense of either your business being down or how this might help you supplement income, like we have to address this. So
Okay.
you know, how we can make sure that we're saying, you know, we need to be able to say something about the, you know,
Yeah, I
business has been
actually-
down, the Grubhub has helped. It's gonna, hot food will help more. We need a little bit more on that side.
Yeah. Actually, I think my brother, since he manages the business, if you don't mind, I'll let him speak about that because he'll be able to tell you more about that.
In the meantime, staff, is there any use variance already on this property in the past?
Yes.
Is it in effect now?
Yep.
And what does it allow?
A grocery store.
and deli.
So the takeout is the thing. So is this,
of the hot food and fryer and grill and everything.
are we modifying an existing one?
Existing variants, yes.
Okay, we're modifying an existing variance, which changes things.
And it does mean that the financial, basically, a lot of the financial is to say that there's no rate of return on this property as it's built. So that's already been kind of proved and established for this business use. Right, so this is an enhancement of that, but maybe they could speak
Yeah,
to,
we'd love
because
to
a
hear
hood, I don't know how much a hood costs these days, but I know they used to be about $25,000 or $30,000, so there must.
Okay, my name is Nader Ashkar, 1919 South State Street. So as far as the financials go, over the years, especially the past 3 years, it's been going a little downhill just because the hot food has been increasing as far as around, neighborhoods. So cold deli used to be a big thing. Now a lot more demand for hot food, I want to say. So it's just been, as far as deli-wise, decreasing a little. It's not to a point where it's out of business thing, but it's to a point where, there's a strive on it, you know what I mean? So, will it help? Yeah. Will it enhance? Yeah. As far as changing the building or anything, we don't have to change anything in the building. It's just literally just adding a hood inside the building. So it's not like we're demolishing or, part of it or expanding.
If you're doing takeout, there will be people who walk in and walk out with something, and that's
Yeah.
going to be your delivery. How much do you think the delivery will be as a percentage of the delivery?
Well, we do delivery now, and it's a very small percentage, but we don't deliver it. It's like Grubhub, all those apps. They come, they send the driver, they pick up, and they go. It's nothing as far as staying inside the store, hanging outside, or nothing like that. They literally come in, their order's ready, they pick up and go, and it's all by app. You know what I mean, or phone call. So.
Other questions? Thank you very much.
Yep, thank
Is there
you.
Anybody?
Actually, can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Just because you're in a residential neighborhood,
Yes.
and sometimes these hoods, especially if you're frying food,
Yes.
the odors can be an issue. And so is there going to be a limit? Like, what time do you think that you'll stop frying food, I guess is what.
Well, until even now, we always, we stop making and, start making half an hour after we open and a half hour before we open. But yeah, before we close, I mean. Now, as far as frying, you would want to clean, so it'd probably be an hour and an hour.
Okay, so what time of day would that be? that you
9
stop?
p.m.
9 p.m.?
Yeah, we close at 10 p.m. every day.
All right. So you're not going to be frying it up at like 1 o'clock in the morning?
Oh, no. We close at 10 p.m. every day.
And I'm asking for my own future.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Is there anybody here who wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there anybody here who wishes to speak against the application? Hearing none, we'll take it under consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Next is... Pretty good, man. That's good.
Okay, next public hearing is E-23-01, an exception to extend a commercial use into a residential Class A1 zoning district. The address is 320 Lombard Avenue. The proposal is to establish a restaurant with accessory parking. TJW Asset Management LLC is the owner. Domingo Ronaldo is the applicant. The zoning districts are commercial Class A and residential Class A1.
Good afternoon. Bill Pitcher from Pitcher Architect, 124 Fiegel Avenue, Syracuse, New York, representing the applicant. If we look at drawing L1, we can see that the commercial part of the lot is directly on Lombard, and the rear portion of the lot is the residential portion.
Maybe page 39 is comparable to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can see also that there is a zone RB, which is up on Fayette Street, East Fayette, which is an apartment complex. And the grade change from there downhill, it's about a 35-foot drop between Fayette and Erie Boulevard. If we flip to the next drawing, which is L2. This is the same drawing, and you'll see that there is a heavy line just below the parking area.
Could you hold up the picture so we can see what it might be in our packet? Okay.
Which one?
It's a ways in then.
Basically, the issue is that the portion of the lot that is zoned for commercial lacks sufficient space for any off-street parking. And the exception we're asking for is that 50-foot exception into the residential part of the lot in order to put the parking behind the building. And basically, we are just putting in enough spaces for the restaurant itself. The other half of the building, future tenants, that portion of the building is vacant at the moment. So we are just looking at the proposed restaurant. If you have a drawing called L3,
Yeah, that's...
okay, this is the topographic map of the site. And you will see that it's a very steep gradient up the hillside. We have basically a flat area where the parking lot is going to go. And from there back, it's an extremely steep site. My suspicion is that at one point it was a gradual slope from Fayette to Erie Boulevard, and when this building was built, they scooped out the hillside and made a much steeper one. It's been that way for quite a while because there are mature trees all the way up. So that's the exception we're asking for, is for that portion of the parking in the residential zone. Now, the other issues, there's some issues about screening from commercial to residential zone around parking areas, and we believe that the mature trees and the 30-foot height difference between Erie Boulevard and Fayette is sufficient screen that it doesn't make sense to put in some more fencing, 6-foot-high fencing or pine trees. The other issue is towards screening towards the east side, Erie Boulevard side. That is also classified as commercial, so we don't need any screening around the parking area towards the adjacent property. I think that is all of the issues. The only other thing we can look at is in the front of the building, there is the planting requirement of 8 feet from the right-of-way line, and the existing conditions are that we're about I think it was 2 feet on one corner away from the right-of-way line and about 6 feet in the center of it away. So we can't provide a full 8 feet of planting area between the right-of-way and the building, and that's just simply because of the position of the building. That's pretty much it.
The transportation planner said that sidewalk is required across the entire frontage. Is that something you'll be doing?
We are discussing that. The particular part of the special permit says that the city engineer shall specify whether or not curbs and sidewalks are required. Actually, curbs are required. The sidewalk we're proposing to replace because it's deteriorated. But the question of city curbs is an open issue.
It's kind of a wild zone out there. There's not a real clear definition between street and
Correct.
Street, I guess.
But the real question, the building frontage isn't changing. What's inside is changing. Question is, why should a private property owner be required to install public curbs for the city's benefit and ownership at the property owner's expense?
So if we were to specify that you will do whatever the city decides you need to do, would that be acceptable?
Yeah.
Is the restaurant open?
No, we're still going through, we still have to go through the special permit hearing next Monday.
What kind of restaurant?
It's Mexican, ethnic.
Victoria?
Yeah, his existing restaurant is a couple blocks over, and it's a smaller place, and he's just moving here because he needs a larger kitchen area, and he just wanted to have a little bit of indoor sit-down eating. It's basically a fast food takeout is his current business plan. He doesn't really intend to change the menu to go to full dinners.
So it'll be a sit-down place?
There are tables and chairs, yes. If you have a drawing called A2 or A1.
Yeah, right on the next.
Yeah.
A1 shows the, no, that's the kitchen and service area. A2 shows the other half of the tenant space, which shows the tables.
Yeah, this is it.
Right, okay. Yeah.
The tables in the restrooms.
So when I was out there, there was a door and a canopy at the front, a lombard. That's not going to be used?
No.
The only entrance
The
will be
door
at the
is
back?
going to remain, but we are creating a new entrance in the rear off the parking lot. If you look at drawing A3, that's the proposed replacement for the canopy, and it's basically staying within the right-of-way line, so we're not encroaching into the city, and it's just getting rid of that vestibule porch construction and just having a little rain shield roof over the doorway.
So you'll be able to enter from this door or from the back?
Correct.
We could have a sidewalk. Okay, anybody else?
It might not be fair to ask you, but has the building been vacant, unoccupied, underutilized? Has the owner been trying to?
It's been vacant for a while. I don't know particularly how long. There was a silk screen operation in the other side of the building, and then I've been told that there was a nightclub and a grocery store in the restaurant portion. And I've noticed that within the last, say, half year or so, it looks like it's been vacant. So there was also a previous development meeting. You don't have documents for this. There was a pre-development meeting with the city and the building owner, and they were proposing a medical health facility, which again had rear parking in it. But apparently that particular proposal just simply wasn't economically viable for the amount of work that's being here proposed or whatever. So the point is that there was a trial to increase the value of the building and the usage, but it just never happened.
So I guess same question as before, given that we are apparently modifying a special permit and it's only an exception, the reasonable rate of return question is settled or not?
Do we need it? It's Class A. Would it be allowed under Class A?
This isn't actually a use variance. This is, there's a provision in the zoning law to allow uses when you have a lot that's split zoned. It has to come before the BZA to allow that use to extend into the neighboring zoning district.
Totally get that. So we have a use variance test here in our notes. What is our, for the exception, then what are we deliberating? We're just,
Oh, you're right. I apologize, yeah. I should have taken that out.
The tests are for a use variance that you provided.
Right. Yep, I apologize, yep. So we don't need.
we just need to thumbs up, thumbs down.
We don't go
Great.
through that. Yeah.
Perfect.
What tests are there, should we be considering?
Well, I think, and Mr. Pitcher has spoken to the lack of need for screening. How does it affect neighboring properties? Will it affect neighboring properties at all? This is kind of a weird place to have an RE1 zoning district. I think it's probably a mapping, I won't say an error, but a
Something left over from the last reason.
Yes, exactly. And probably the mapping didn't take into account the slope behind the building and all those different things. So I think the biggest thing for you to consider is does this actually have an impact on an RA1 neighborhood?
Up the hill.
Yeah, up the hill, right. So you have to look at kind of buffers and things like that, and that's, I think, why Mr. Pitcher, spoke to the need or not need for screening. But the topography and the vegetation kind of surrounding this building, and then the very kind of highway environment in front of it, and it's in a commercial. The building itself is in the commercial district, so it's really just the extension of that parking lot use into the residential area that you have to consider. And does it have an impact on neighbors, which there really aren't any. So,
Okay.
there you go.
Thank you. Other questions from the board?
The only thing I would say about the residential use of the property is it's not a terribly desirable place to build a new house, and it's very doubtful that it would ever be used for a single-family house unless the pre-existing building were torn down. And even then, being on Erie Boulevard, it's not a particularly desirable area.
Thanks. Anybody here to speak in favor of the application? You have another question? No. No. Anybody here to speak against the application? Hearing none, we will move on to our next case. Is it final case?
Okay, our next case is V-23-04, a use variance request to waive permitted uses at 2110 to 2112 and 2102 to 2104 South Salina Street and 101 Wood Avenue. The request is to establish a restaurant and event space with accessory parking. The owner is the Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation and the City of Syracuse, and the applicant is Sipley Ingram, LLC, and the zoning district is residential class AA.
Thank you. My name is Caitlin Wright. I'm with the Greater Syracuse Land Bank at 431 East Fayette Street. We currently own 2 of these 3 parcels, and the third one is owned by the City of Syracuse. I do have a letter of support that came in awfully late, so if it's okay.
Okay.
Could you tell us about that letter?
Yes, that's a copy coming around to you from the pastor of the People's AME Zion Church right around the corner, letter in support of the project. So you're probably familiar with this building. It's commonly known as South Presbyterian Church. It's been vacant and abandoned since 2005. In 2015, it was foreclosed on for back taxes and conveyed to the land bank. And since that time, we've been trying to find a suitable developer who has a plan to restore the property and put it back into productive use. It is a locally designated landmark, so whatever plan we were looking for would have to comply with the landmark regulations and go before the Landmark Preservation Board for any exterior changes. After we took title in 2015, we went ahead and also nominated it to the National Register of Historic Places, thinking that the availability of those tax credits would make it more desirable for a developer as well. And then a few years ago, we did receive a purchase offer from Evelyn and Chino Ingram. They own Simply Ingram LLC, and their plan is to redevelop this building as a private event venue that you could rent out for events large or small, and to have a lounge in the building, which I'll let them talk about the plans for operating that lounge. But to our eye, it looked like it best fit in the zoning code's definition of restaurant/tavern. So we're asking for a use variance because this isn't an RAA zoning district, and we need a use variance. RAA? Yes. Even though it's on South Salina Street, which reads as a very busy neighborhood commercial business district, and the other 3 corners of this intersection are not zoned RAA, they're all zoned local business class A. So I'm going to dive into the standards of proof here. We have to show that we cannot achieve a reasonable financial return or a reasonable return, or that we have financial hardship. This is a very large building, about 35,000 square feet. You're familiar with it. It looks like a castle. It's heavy masonry stone. 35,000 square foot building is not likely to be converted into one of the permitted uses in this district. It's not going to be a single family home or a 2-family home. And we have tried to find other religious congregations that might be able to reuse the building for its original intended purpose. But at 35,000 square feet, and they're estimating about a $12 million restoration, we just haven't been able to find a congregation that has the financial bandwidth to achieve that. So converting it to a permitted use doesn't seem realistic. Demolition and then sale of the vacant lot also does not seem like a realistic option. We're estimating, here in the application it says at least $450,000 to demo. I think it would be closer to $600,000 or $700,000 to demolish a large masonry structure like that, and then we'd be left with a vacant lot. And as you know, in the city of Syracuse, to get someone to come build a mixed-use building on that lot, they would require heavy subsidy as well to support the new construction. So there's no way for us, we think, to achieve a reasonable return on this property and comply with the RAA restrictions. Does it have unique circumstances? We think the fact that it is a landmarked building is a unique circumstance, that everybody really wants to see this specific building restored and put back into productive use. And like I said, it's just an oddly laid out building to convert into a one or a two family home. So the fact that it is landmarked and we want to save the existing structure, and that the existing structure is quite unique, we think meets that criteria to show that this is a unique circumstance. It is locally protected. You may recall years ago when the Presbyterian congregation left, they had a plan to sell it to a neighborhood group that was going to turn it into a community center, but I'm not sure how the bureaucratic hierarchy of the Presbyterian Church works, but somewhere higher up the line decided that they had to sell it to the highest bidder, and it ended up being purchased by an antiques dealer based in Southern California, and he applied to the Landmark Preservation Board to remove and sell the windows and light fixtures, and the LPB denied that application, and I believe the Planning Commission did as well, and then ultimately they appealed to the Common Council, and they were granted permission to remove those things from the building.
Yes, original Tiffany design windows. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yep, I remember.
Yeah. And then having removed those things, the building was of no use to him anymore, and he sold it to a traveling minister who would come up every so often from Philadelphia and hold services for about 10 people, and may have donated it, yeah, and did not apply for a religious use exemption, and so here we are. That's how it ended up with the land bank. So essential character of the locality, like I said, it's on South Salina Street, which we all know as a bustling neighborhood business district, so we think it fits into the essential character, this plan fits into the essential character of South Salina Street. The other three corners of this intersection are the local library, Key Bank, and the post office, so commercial use fits right in. And then the situation is not, or the hardship is not self-created. I kind of explained to you how this building got to us, the series of unfortunate events that led to it being abandoned and made tax delinquent. And the land bank is a public entity created to take abandoned properties through the tax foreclosure process and get them back into productive use. So we don't have much choice in what properties we get from the city, and this is not a self-created hardship.
What's the condition like now, like the roof? Is there a lot of work needs to be done on the roof?
There are some roof leaks. Mostly it has a pretty steeply pitched tile roof, and that's in relatively good condition, but at the four corners there are flat roofed sections, and those roof drains need to be cleaned out several times a year, or they get backed up and water accumulates up there and seeps over the flashing. The corner right at Salina and Colvin was by far in the worst condition, and we used some ARPA stabilization funding that we got from the city to put in some temporary shoring all the way from the basement up to prevent that section from collapsing. But it is a good question that this building does urgently need attention. And I
estimate about minimum to keep it going?
Well, the total cost for the redevelopment, you're estimating about $12 million. I couldn't give you a number for temporary stabilization or just for the roof.
What's left inside? Are the pews still there?
The pews are still there. There's not. The lights have been replaced with something far less glamorous than what was there originally, and the stained glass, for the most part, has been replaced with less ornate stained glass than what was there originally.
Just the plastic to protect the windows. Now there's something in addition to that?
Yeah, a condition of him being granted permission to remove the Tiffany windows was that he had to replace them in kind. They're irreplaceable, so I don't know. So he hired a stained glass artisan out of Ithaca to put replacements in, and they are very simplistic in their design.
But they keep the rain out.
I think the plexiglass is doing most of the work for that, yeah. This is a project that has broad support from the community. You just received the last letter from the pastor of AME Zion Church. There are a few other people that are going to speak in support. They've received numerous grants for this project from the state. They have $1 million from the Restore New York program, $1.2 million from the CFA program, a $50,000 grant from the city for ARPA funds, and about 40 individuals have donated nearly $60,000 to help towards the pre-development costs, and the land bank is acting as a financial sponsor for that, administering those funds so that the design work can get started. You'll also see on your plans that it needs a few area variances, a partial waiver of setbacks and screening, a partial waiver of on-site parking, and a waiver of lot coverage maximums. Those are all the standards from RAA that need to be waived. Staff has calculated that we would need about 67 on-site parking spaces. The plan in front of you has 55 on-site, and they have also gotten a letter from KeyBank showing they're kitty-cornered across the intersection there, that they're willing to allow 30 spaces in their lot to be used outside of regular business hours. There's not a formal lease in place at this time because we think it would be a little premature, but that will happen down the road.
All of the, other than the parking, all the other surface area variances, setbacks and stuff is just existing condition confirmation. Like the building footprint hasn't changed, it's not changing, it's just to become into compliance with the RA requirements?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, okay.
Questions from the board? Other questions from the board? We've had this in front of us before, I think. No, you don't think so?
No.
We were in front of the Planning Commission just a few weeks ago applying to combine the 3 lots.
Not years, but
yeah.
I may be thinking of a different church. Okay. No questions?
Yeah, could we hear from the...
Questions
Oh,
about
sure.
the
That'd be great.
business they plan to operate? Yeah.
Good afternoon. Evelyn Ingram, 4383 Colburn Drive, Syracuse, New York. We just wanted to share a little background regarding how we got to this point, and it actually led to us realizing that there was a need for this type of venue in this area. We actually met, I guess I'll say, the second half of our lives, and we were having, my husband wanted to host a 50th birthday party for me. And during that planning time, we decided that we also wanted to get married. And in that planning process, we also decided we wanted to have a 50th birthday party, get married, and surprise all of our guests. So we literally had our close family and friends at an event that they thought was only my birthday party, which ended up leading into a wedding. And with that, when I say surprise, I mean everyone was surprised, including my son from a previous marriage, our family, friends, even the minister was surprised. We kind of put them on notice 10 minutes before the ceremony.
Not the groom, though.
Well, the groom knew. The groom, he and I, he was with me. But what occurred is that during our planning process, we were trying to find a venue in this area that really would give us the feel that we were looking for, from a unique perspective, something that could accommodate both a wedding, a birthday party, and a wedding. In that process, although we do have very nice venues in this area, we did not find one that really met the uniqueness and creativity that we were trying to find. So as a result, we actually had to go into another county in Canastota, New York, and we actually had our celebration at the Greystone Castle. And during that time, my husband and I both said it would be great if we had some place like this in Syracuse. And how ironic that several months after our wedding, we were watching TV, saw on the news that the land bank was putting this property up for sale. Immediately, my husband and I both had the connection of, that's it. So that's actually what began our quest for trying to purchase this property. And during that process, we recognized that because of the character of the building, because of the location and the stately appearance of the building, we actually have renamed it the Castle. Our intention is to have people, when they come to the castle, to experience royalty, and recognizing that in an area that has been designated as having some of the highest concentrations of poverty, being able to designate this in this place as royalty, as recognizing the people there who live there have the ability to experience royalty and are royalty, and this edifice will demonstrate that. So as we were looking at what we wanted to do with the building, we recognized that because of the size of it, it had several opportunities. One being obviously an event space, so looking to really provide an upscale, sophisticated event space that people will come region-wide to be able to have an event at this facility. Being, whether it's a wedding reception, it could be a conference, being able to really have something that would have that ability. Even also looking at trying to provide health and training opportunities for the residents of the area. So looking at job fairs, health fairs, just things that really will enable us to really be able to achieve being able to bring satisfaction and excellence to that area of town. In addition, we're looking to have a lounge which will allow for networking and social engagement among the residents. But what the final point is that my husband actually grew up 2 doors down from the church and used to play there.
Yeah. So the castle as it stands now used to be my backyard. I literally grew up 2 doors down, saying my backyard was about as big as my hand. So the parking lot was everything to us. It was the hide and go see, it was the kickball, it was the tag, it was that's my car and everything else in between. So I think it's a good opportunity not only for the city but the community to really understand that even as a Southsider, you know, to show the other kids and to show the other neighborhood families that it doesn't matter where you grow up, it doesn't matter where you come from. The whole idea of getting to a certain point in your life, getting to a certain point, you know, relationship-wise and family-wise, but not only to get to that point, but to get to the point so you can give back. You know, and that's what we want to do. You know, people always talk about, oh, why are you guys doing the castle on the south side? Why don't you do it somewhere else, Rochester, on the east side, out in, you know, Skinny Outlet somewhere? We definitely want to do it where it's at right now, and that's the south side. And that's where I'm from. That's where we decided that we want to focus on. We think the Syracuse community deserves it. We think it's time for the community to have something nice, and we want to bring that to Syracuse, and not just for the Syracuse people, but for the region. You know, we want to bring people from Binghamton. We want to go all the way to Watertown. We want to go all the way to Albany and say, you know what, if you come within 3 or 4 hours of Syracuse, you got to stop by the castle, and that's what we want to do.
So if I lived, let's say, 2 blocks west of the castle, will I know every night that there's a big event going on because I'll hear it coming over the air?
No, because we won't have those type of events that I guess you would hear, you know, because again, you know, it's not going to be a club, it's not going to be open late night, you know, it's not going to be open every night, you know, so I think the type of gatherings we're going to have is not going to be the type of gatherings you're going to hear 2 blocks away.
But if you do decide to participate in the concert, you will hear great music. And part of that opportunity is for us to be able to provide different styles of music, whether it's R&B, Latin, country western, just really being able to have that venue. So we would encourage the residents, if you like to come and participate in the concert that we're hosting at the castle.
That was a great segue.
Other questions? Nope. I think even the symphony would.
Yes, even symphony. And I'll just share also, there is a beautiful pipe organ that is still in the building. And although it is in need of repair, our intention is to, once we're able to get the funding, to repair that. And we've actually already been in conversation with a professor up at Syracuse University who is an organ teacher. And can you imagine being able to give organ lessons, pipe organ lessons on the south side of Syracuse and helping students recognize the potential of being a pipe organist? And one of the other ideas was we look to have a national pipe organ concert. So you have pipe organists from across the country coming to Syracuse, New York at the castle to offer pipe organ music to the residents.
And traveling gospel.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And again, we want to have national entertainment. You know, we want to really bring, you know, the type of people that, you know, you see on TV or that you just hear about. You know, a lot of times we have to wait for the fair, we have to wait for something to come to the amphitheater, and because it's going to be something that we own, we can bring whoever you want. You know, so if you say to us, hey, is there any way you can bring Celine Dion to the castle, then yeah, we'll find a way to do that. You know, we'll work together to do it. You know, but again, we don't have to wait for that. You know, we can make it happen because that's something that we want to be able to give, but we want to also create the kind of atmosphere and even the customer service, because we want to be the model of how business can be run. You know, we want to encourage other people to open up a business. You know, if we kick off the South Side, we kick off Salina Street, we're hoping the next couple of years there's going to be other businesses wanted to do the same thing.
What will be the capacity of the space? How many people will?
Fit for a concert, that's what I was going to ask.
The main area, probably around 800. Yeah.
And for that, you're going to have 56 parking spaces, though. It's,
Well, rezone would probably require fewer once it's
It sounds very comparable to the Westcott venue,
Yeah.
as far as setting, and
Yeah.
they don't have any parking. So.
right.
and it is a problem.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 12 million, how close are you to that goal?
We are chipping away at it. I think that's the easiest way of saying it. And I keep saying that because there's a lot of opportunities that's still floating around. There's a lot of grants coming down the pipeline. You know, we're in a good position right now. We have a lot of support. The grants, and because of the historical building, because the grants that we already have, and the historical piece knocking off another almost $4 million, you know, we're really close. And like I said, we just keep chipping away, and we're just hoping that we continue to get the support from the city.
But I would say from a timeline perspective, we have completed the schematic design drawing. I had an architecture firm complete that for us. We are in the process of engaging another architecture firm to do the actual designs. Our intention is to, if we can start construction by early next year, and we're told that it will take about a year for construction, our hope is to be open by 2024, 2025.
Any other questions from the board? Thank you. Anyone wish to speak in favor of the application?
Hello, Kimon Jordan, Director of Housing and Neighborhood Planning for the City of Syracuse. So I do have a statement of support from...
Could you, what's your name and address, please?
Yes, Kimon Jordan.
Okay, I didn't miss that, okay. And give us an address?
Yep, 201 East Washington Street. So I do have a letter of support from the Department of Neighborhood and Business Development, so I'll just read it for the record, and I've emailed copies to zoning. So I'd like to extend my full and enthusiastic support of the Greater Syracuse Land Bank to submit an application for a use variance for the Castle project at South Salina Street. The developer's proposed commercial use aligns directly with our department's goals to reactivate long-standing vacant properties along commercial corridors, enhance neighborhood aesthetics, and provide opportunities for economic development. The castle will stand as an anchor institution at a key location that will enhance and support existing public events and programming at the intersection of Colvin and Salina. This project will also create employment opportunities while building off city investments in infill housing development and infrastructure improvements taking place within the floor block radius. Successful redevelopment of this property is highly dependent on a use variance that will allow the building to be repurposed for commercial use. The project has received a financial commitment through the ARPA Commercial Corridor Improvement Fund. This financial award is pending approval of the use variance from the Board of Zoning Appeals. This conversion is also necessary to access the tax credits and grants needed to save this landmark building that is both a locally and designated landmark and listed on the National Register of Historic Place. Caitlin mentioned this earlier, but it's important to additionally note that this building cannot be practically repurposed for any other uses allowed in the RAA zoning district. Seeing that the property is 35,000 square feet, it cannot be repurposed into a single or two-family home. Current property conditions place renovation estimates at about $12 million, a value that is unrealistic for a local congregation to take on, making it unfeasible to continually be used as a church or daycare facility as allowed in RAA. So seeing that commercial use would be well placed in this location, and current renovation funding is dependent on commercial use of the parcel, we fully support the Greater Syracuse Land Bank's application for a use variance at this property. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Patrona Jones-Rouser at 123 Wood Ave, Syracuse, New York. I'll also be speaking for Mary Nelson, who had to step out to go to another meeting, and she's at 130 Wood Ave, Syracuse, New York. We both speak in favor of the castle, and we just had a couple of questions. So that the castle is taking the parking space, the parking lot on the Wood Ave in South Salina Street. I had spoken with some city officials a few years back concerning the parking on South Salina Street in front of the, I'll say the Z Mart at this point in time. It's also a barber shop. It's directly across the street. I did bring papers. I'll just bring these around. So that parking lot is, it's less utilized since COVID. I'm not sure if there's been individuals in the apartment building, the adjacent apartment building, that have moved out that had vehicles, or is it because the barber shop that was located on the corner moved to like a door adjacent their previous space. So maybe people are parking on Salina Street now. However, I've been on Wood Ave since 2006, I believe, and the parking on Wood Ave, individuals park all the way up to the corner. I've asked that the city take the parking spaces further back, because there's like a little lines drawn in the street where parking should be set back. They don't follow that, so my request is that the city looks at this now, that additional parking will now be gone once the castle takes possession, and that they build out that curb cut so that cars cannot park as far up to the corner. It's very hard for individuals who live on Wood Ave to see past those cars to come off of Wood Ave onto South Salina Street, which is an extremely busy location, and many individuals, including one of my neighbors, have almost been hit and have been hit. So that's something that needs to be looked at. I also proposed in those little drawings, I know they're not good, they're kind of dark, but that maybe across the street at the Sankofa Park, maybe they take some of the sidewalk away over there and create some of the like 45-degree parking, maybe 4 or 5 cars. So that's my thing as far as the parking, but we do support the project. I'll just need to look further into what's going to happen once that parking is removed.
Have you seen the parking plans that they provided?
I haven't. That's what my next question for Mary Nelson and myself. The next question was based on, we haven't seen the parking that they intend to do, and Mary is concerned that she's in support of the project. We know that it will bring economic development to our area. We're very enthused about everything that they have presented. She has a program that she runs, which is the Mary Nelson backpack giveaway. She's done that for 23 years now, and she is interested to know how will that affect her backpack giveaway, because we've been told that it would be fenced in now, and will it have an opening up to the to the Wood Ave curb cuts anymore? Will that go away? She just wants to know about that. How would that affect? And she knows that you guys would support her in any way, but she just want to know how that would affect her at all.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. So the first thing you're talking about is more related to asking the city for consideration than the applicants.
Yes.
And the second one may be more related to the applicants. So when everybody's done, you have a chance to come up and talk again, okay? So, go ahead.
So she can take that and look at it and then come back later? Is that what you're suggesting?
No. I'm just, I didn't want the applicants to start answering questions now. I want to get through the fours and against.
All right.
Okay.
You done?
So am I done? Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's up to you. Okay, thank you. Anybody else wish to speak in favor of the application? Anybody want to speak against the application? Okay, hearing none. If you have something to say, you don't have to say anything, but yeah. Okay, sure.
Yes, we understand the Mary Nelson's backpack. We love Mary Nelson, and we are in full support of her as she is with us. And we'll continue to work with Mary Nelson. She doesn't have to worry about her backpack giveaway going anywhere outside of where it's been. We want to make sure that we work with her and we work in support of what she's trying to do, because we understand the mission that she has. And if when she says she's trying to do something for the community, that automatically involves us. And as far as the the way the parking lot is going to be situated, she'll still be able to continue to do what she's doing, and it's not going to affect or disrupt her mission at all.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll close this case. Do we have to talk about this East Genesee Street thing? Because it's not listed on the new business or anything like that.
It is in the sheet she gave you.
Oh, okay, there's an update. So what we have left is, I got a letter from, it's there, okay. We have to talk about the notice of intent to act as lead agency for seeker review, and what we need to do is endorse the Planning Commission as the lead agency. That's all we have to do. Is there anybody here to talk about this?
No, it's just their letter.
Yeah, okay.
You want to do this before the other cases?
Yeah, let's get this out of the way.
I'll make a motion that the Planning Commission be set as the lead for secret.
Is there a second? Second. Any modification, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of making them the lead agency on that project, say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. We'll go to our public hearings, deliberation on our public hearings now. The first case, B1328 M1, 1919 South State Street, the converting or adding hot food to the store there. Use variance, waive permitted uses. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
To
approve. Sorry.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, rationale, please.
As previously established under the existing special permit, a reasonable rate of return based on its existing zoning is not feasible. The hardship is unique to this property in the neighborhood, as it's been operating in its current capacity for a number of years and is not changing that or changing any of the other surrounding neighborhood. The variance will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood, which is kind of what I just said, so that was stupid. But as I said, it's been operating there for decades and will not be changing the character of the neighborhood, and the alleged hardship has not been self-created. They have been operating the store and they're just seeking to continue operations with a new line of business, and that's what I have.
That's secret.
And there's negative seeker determination.
She put it well. I just add that we're going to assume that they will address the issues raised by the transportation planner that we discussed here today.
I mean, I will just state that in dealing with corner stores, we almost always have.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
No standards. This is a very unusual situation. The building actually is in two zoning areas itself. There's a little corner that goes out into the residential. I think the plan put forward here is reasonable. I don't think any additional screening is needed because the hillside is so steep and heavily forested. Anything the seconder wants to add?
I think overall it will be an improvement to the area, to the building, what he has designed for us.
And regarding the sidewalk and curbing, the applicant has already said he will do what the city ultimately determines needs to be done there.
I just wanted to remind the board that they still have to get a special permit too, so I'm sure the Planning Commission will have something to say about the curbing and sidewalk. And there's another.
Yes, that was his point, that if they do, Mr. Pitcher said they'll take care of it, so good. All those in favor of approving the variance, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. See, a unanimous vote in favor. B2304, use variance waive permitted for Salina Street project and Wood Avenue project for the castle. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we'll go through the standards. The applicant cannot realize a reasonable return provided lack of return is substantial and demonstrated by competent financial evidence. It's sort of self-evident. Residential zoning allows houses and churches, and this is a huge church. It's not easily adaptable to residential use. There apparently is no church looking to take it over. So I think we are all fairly convinced that this may be the only forward plan for this particular structure. The alleged hardship relating to the property in question is unique and does not apply to a substantial portion of the district or neighborhood. This is a huge and magnificent building. It's a shame what's happened to it, and it is definitely unique. The requested use variance, if granted, will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. It's been an eyesore in the neighborhood as it deteriorates over the last few years. The plans put forward for this property will be a huge improvement in the neighborhood and in the surrounding neighborhood as well. The alleged hardship has not been self-created. The applicants are taking on a building that's severely challenged and will take a lot of money to do. This is not a self-created problem, and I congratulate them for taking on such an enormous project.
Seeker.
I will give it a name of the seeker.
And who seconded? Roy then?
I did. No, I think the only other thing to Petrona's concern is it looks like there's a number of comments from the fire department about configuring that. So I would just say between the fire department's need and Petrona's concern on the neighborhood, certainly something that can be easily addressed on the parking side. But I think
we assume it will be addressed.
Yeah, avenues to address that.
Call the question. All those in favor of approving the variance, say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Very good luck. We'll be looking for it. Authorizations for April 20th for, I guess, the project that we just put on the Planning Commission to be lead agency. Is that the same project?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah, okay. I'm not going to read all the addresses, but it's Ashworth, Pine, East Genesee Street, new apartment building.
We're just going to hold the public hearing, but we're not going to be able to vote. The seeker won't be done, right?
It's an area variance.
The area, can we do the area variance for the April 20th authorization without the seeker completed?
Oh, okay, so we have another secret issue.
So this is an area, it's an area variance. Can we go ahead and give the variance without the seeker being finished?
So I'm working with law on that right now. So what happens is the Planning Commission, as you decided a few minutes ago, you've given up lead agency, which is fine because they have the kind of last word on it. So they've referred it, they've seen this, they referred it to you for this area variance, and there is a mechanism in New York state law where you can act on this, and then there's kind of like just language in the resolution that refers to them as the lead agency, and then they would finish seeker. This is commonly done, not commonly done in the city, but we just have to figure out what that language is, and then we should be okay.
Great.
Okay.
Worst case is you'd have to hold your decision to the Planning Commission is done and just kind of give an indication.
We can hear it and be ready and then approve it.
But we're hoping to resolve that so that we can do it all in sequence.
Motion to accept the authorization. Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion to adjourn.
We have a.
Something else we need to discuss.
I heard that
Lisa showed this to me and then she didn't.
Yeah.
And she was for the castle.
Oh, for the castle.
We have a note here. Where did this come from? Is this from you? So this is partly due to the new seeker requirements. And I won't give you all the details, but because of the size of the facility and that it's a historic protected site, it actually requires a long environmental assessment form, which also means that it needs coordinated review. And so what that means is we have to go through that process of declaring a lead agency and writing the letter, so you probably can't make the decision today. Actually.
Because you just found this out? Is that why?
Well, how do we want to?
It was in there.
Where's my ear over here?
What's that?
Where's my ear over here, Sue?
Do they know, does the applicant know this?
Yes.
Yeah, they do know that it's a type 1, but I'm guessing it was lost on them, the procedures.
The complexity of it, maybe, yeah. So what do we do? What do we change?
Well, you're gonna have to declare your intent to act as lead agency, so that would be motion.
Well, I declare.
In terms of the existing motion,
We'll have to ask Sue.
yeah.
But I would go ahead and declare lead agency so that we can resolve it.
That, like, we're stepping up. How does that work? We're saying we want to be the lead agency? Okay, and we do, that makes the most sense? I just want to make sure, yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, so is there a motion to declare ourselves lead agency on this project?
So the thing we just voted on is completely null and void, basically.
Well, it's not.
We couldn't like.
We
so
wouldn't survive a challenge.
Yeah.
How's that?
We can't amend it to say contingent upon completion of seeker. It doesn't.
I think I would let your current decision lie, and then just do it again after you complete seeker.
Okay.
You're saying yes, that would be a way to go.
Yes.
Okay.
I wouldn't pull it back or anything. I would just let it sit, and then we'll do seeker, and then you'll just do it again.
Okay, so is there a motion to declare ourselves, lead agency for that project?
I will make a motion that we declare ourselves lead agency for this project.
Is there a second?
I have a second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
So what we'll do is we'll send out the letter, and then we will ask. There's only like a couple. Are there any interested agencies besides SLIDA?
Landmark Preservation Board.
Landmark Preservation. Have they looked at this?
No. I don't think they haven't submitted an application yet for it.
Oh, they haven't submitted an application yet. Oh, so that's why. How did we get this far? An application for. You talk to us. Tell me what's going on.
Well, it was an application for a use variance.
Right.
And we processed it. They know that they're going to have to go back to Landmark Preservation Board to get a certificate of appropriateness once they come up with detailed plans on what exactly they're going to be doing to the building. I think they needed this variance now so they could go out and get funding, basically. And so they don't have a lot of detail yet.
Did they say?
Planning Commission too?
No.
No.
It's governed by the variance.
But they can't get funding without the seeker? So this will delay them.
I think, what do you guys meet every 3 weeks?
Yes.
So we'll be able to resolve this by the next meeting.
There's no chance they'll have to do a full environmental impact statement.
There is a chance.
Well, it's up to you.
There's always a chance, right?
There is a chance.
Is it possible then at the next meeting, since we have voted to approve, that we could, if the agency stuff has been wrapped up, since it's probably not going to be a very involved lead agency search.
Right.
So in a month or at the next meeting, we can just be prepped with the resolution to vote on instead of waiting another 3 weeks for them?
Right, that's right.
Okay, let's do that.
So,
I
that's
would
right,
want
because
to
you
do
do the
that.
resolution after anyways. So yeah, we can resolve it, yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's a good point, thanks, Noah.
Okay, so what's that for now?
Good. Yep.
A motion to adjourn?
I think that'll be fine, yeah.
Motion to
I
adjourn.
make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
So when they applied,
Is there a second?
Thanks, Scott.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
To my parking